Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where today's show is Authentic Achievements. And as with anything in life, which is a good job we've called it Authentic Achievements, things don't necessarily always go to plan. So instead of our scheduled guest, I am delighted to share with you that today I am going to be joined by USA Global TV and Radio's founder and Chief Listening Officer, the fabulous Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Dr. Jacqueline, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. You know, in television, you have to always be ready. You never know what's going to happen.
That's so true. And it is probably one of the reasons I called the show this, because it is authentic. Life doesn't always go necessarily the way that we intended it to, but it's about how we deal with those curveballs, isn't it? So it's whether or not we allow them to knock us down, or whether we pick up the ball and go in the direction it takes us.
Absolutely. It's so true. And you and I have known each other for 5 or 6 years now. And during that time, a lot has happened in your life and in my life. And what I really admire is, as women, we continuously pick each other up and support other women. And you've got an amazing story behind the whole thing with Authentic Achievements. But I'm just really grateful for your leadership, your mentorship, and your friendship.
Oh, right back at you. You know, when I think of some of the amazing highs and lows and middle ground that we've navigated together, I think for me, one of the things that stands tallest of all of them is that unwavering support. I love what you're doing, not just for me as a friend and a mentor and as a boss when it comes to the show, but also with the platform, is creating that safe space, that environment for people to grow together. Because I think very often that's the thing that holds us back, isn't it? Is we're so busy being worried what other people might think of us, or whether or not we're supposed to know something already, or what if we don't get it first time? What if we don't quite understand? And this whole platform has been built to create that psychologically safe environment, hasn't it, for people to learn together and to not feel alone.
It's so true. That's exactly what our entire purpose is. And as you know, we have people from all over the world who are on our network, and then people watching from all over the world. I think we're now in over 60 countries and 3 languages. But it actually starts with an idea, with a concept, and being able to move forward with that when everyone else might look at you and say, are you out of your mind? What are you thinking? You don't have any experience in this area. And I know that you know all about that. And I know that today we have no script, as always, right? There's never a script here. But I think it's really important, because you are the creator of Authentic Achievements. I would love for you to just share your backstory, starting with being a hairdresser, because I think that's so important.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, my life has had, as everybody's has, some highs, lows, and some middle ground. So when I was at school, I absolutely knew what I wanted to do. It didn't matter what anybody else was going to tell me. I was going to be a hairdresser. I got my first Saturday job just before I was 12, and I left school at 15 to pursue my dream. And I was really lucky. I got to pursue my dream. I became qualified. I had my own business, which I set up when I was 18. And then when I was about 23, 24, I suddenly lost the feeling in my hands and legs. And we didn't know what it was. It took a while for them to work it out. But it turned out I'd become allergic to perm lotion, so allergic that I couldn't be there when anybody else did perms either, which in the 90s was a bit of an issue. So I sold the business to one of the girls that worked for me, who still runs it to this day. In fact, my family, my brother's kids still go there to get their haircut. 35 years later. And I went and got a temporary job as a cashier while I worked out what on earth do you do when your dream suddenly isn't your dream anymore, or can't be your dream anymore. What do you do differently? And that led to the next 25 years in corporate life, mainly in financial services, working my way up to board, and then also working in IT software. I had a couple of other challenges along the way. So obviously that was my first very serious illness. I then had two more serious illnesses, the second being just after my little girl, just before she turned 2. And I was still trying to be a good mum, and I was COO for a big financial services organization. And I ended up in intensive care with double lung pneumonia. And you're like, okay, maybe the universe is telling you can't juggle all these balls well without something dropping. And so I remember deciding at that point that if I got out, that Scarlett was my most important thing. So I would rebalance work, and I came out, quit my job, and set up on my own. And that's coming up for 8 years this year. And you can look at it and go, where did those years go? But I've been really lucky in that I was able to set up a consulting business. Then COVID hit. And on my first day of COVID, somebody said to me, we're writing a book, Kim, do you want to co-author? And I was like, no, I can't write a shopping list. I certainly can't co-author. But wrote a chapter. And I think that, Dr. Jekyll, is how I got introduced to you, through that first book that went live on day 10 of lockdown and became an international bestseller on day 11. And that kind of spiraled into writing a few other books, being privileged to come on first as a guest, and then being given the opportunity to host, and then to run my own channel alongside this and write a few other books. And I guess I share that from life doesn't always make sense. It very often only makes sense in the rearview mirror. But I guess if it's taught me anything, it's that when an opportunity comes along, say yes first and work out how to do it afterwards.
I absolutely love that. That is brilliant. There's so many points that you just made that I think are really challenging sometimes for us to accept as humans, because we think everything has to be lined up. If I could tell you how many times in my life I have heard someone say, I can't do it yet because I need one more course. I need one more certification. I need one more thing I have to check off. And of course, as we know, this is just procrastination, but we don't actually realize it. So I know in what you've gone through, it has been encompassing in so many ways, and you could have given up at any point in time. Even today, when the guest didn't show up, there are people who would say, you know what, I'm not doing the show because I can't do it myself. Or you're like, you know what, I'm ready to do the show by myself. And I, of course, because you are a professional broadcaster, and I just happen to say, you know what, I'm happy to do it with you because we've always had good conversations. But what is it that you think is really the key differentiator between someone who says, okay, I'm going to take the risk? It could be a calculated risk. You know, you could have done all the research, or I'm going to wait until this, or this.
Oh, it's a great question. And I don't know, I guess, and Dr. Jack, you've known me for a long time, but I love a quote. And I love a quote as my way of framing my brain, working out where it is. And one that always stands in my mind is, I think it was Mark Twain, that said 20 years from now, you won't regret the things you did, you'll regret the things you didn't do. And that always stays in my head, because if I do something and I get it wrong, I have an opportunity to apologize and try and put it right. But if I didn't do anything, that's just lost. I don't get that chance again. There's no guarantee that opportunity will come around. And as I say to my little girl all of the time, it's never the mistake that defines us. It's what we do with the mistake. And most of our lessons come when we get it wrong. You know, they come when we mess up and we go, oh, I didn't expect that to happen quite like that. And what have I learned from that? What can I take into next time that will ensure that I might make a different mistake, but I don't make that mistake? And they're the parts that grow. So I guess whereas sometimes you can hold yourself back waiting for the perfect time. I think, and maybe it does come from having a few potentially serious illnesses. There may never be a perfect time. The only time I'm guaranteed is right now. And so I say to myself, kind of what's the worst that can happen and can I live with it? I mean, there's been numerous times where you've so kindly, like today, stepped in to ensure that I don't bore the audience for the next 40 minutes. But then equally, there's been times when, you know, you've allowed me to just come on and bore the audience for 40 minutes. And I guess it's those elements that's going, okay, they're the moments we learn. They're the moments we grow, where we go, this worked, that didn't work. Sometimes the things that we have prepared the most for don't land, and then we'll, you know, we'll do an ad hoc show like this, and people will be really engaged with it. Like, how did that happen when we weren't planned? And I think maybe that's it. Sometimes life happens best when we just go with the flow.
First of all, you are more than capable to do the show yourself, and you know that, Nye, that we're just joking around because you are the ultimate professional. But one thing I think is really important to what you just said is life isn't perfect and things are going to come up. So if we decide to stay in our lane, so, you know, people say that, you know, I'm just staying in my lane. I'm just doing what it is I know. I've always been doing it this way and it always works. Things are going to happen anyway, because that's how life is. We always get curveballs, even though we might do everything right and keep our head down and, you know, just be the perfect person. Things happen. So why not take some opportunities to make things happen that you normally might not get an opportunity to? So when someone asks something, why not consider it? How would it look if I did this and it worked out? What would happen if I didn't do this? So that's how it worked with the television network. Basically, way before this was even a thought in my mind, I was invited to be a guest on a TV show that was an actual TV station. And that was back in 2019. And all I know is that I was afraid. And the whole time I had false eyelashes on and I was like this. I couldn't stop smiling. I felt like my face was going to crack off because I had so much fun. And I thought, you know what, this is something that I really enjoy and I want to do. But if I never went to that television station to do the interview, I wouldn't be here today and I wouldn't be here with you. So one door opened. And if I had said no, who knows where the path would have taken me.
I love that, Dr. Lynn. And you live your truth. So you step into those moments where it's scary, but you find the courage. And that's what I love about you. You find the courage to do it anyway. And not because the fear doesn't exist, but knowing that it does. And I think, you know, that's what inspires those moments where we go, it's not, you know, courage isn't about not having fear. I think it was Nelson Mandela who said that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the ability to move forward despite the fear. And I think for me, you know, they're the key moments. And for me, you know, another one that makes it easier for me to step beyond my fear is I am very conscious that I have a little person who is watching not what I say, but who I am and how I show up. So I can't say to her, be brave. I can't say to her, take the risk and try, if I'm sitting in my lane and not doing anything that it feels uncomfortable, feels scary. It feels a little bit like, what am I going to do here? But I think in those moments, and you do it so beautifully, in those moments where we just trust that actually we'll take the step and the next step will come, it will become clear. We'll see how we move through. Is great, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there was a moment where there was nothing going on. So that is that is the world of television. No, but you know what? It's also, to your point, like when you created Authentic Achievements, you had no idea where it was going to go. And not only do you have your own platform, but now you have Authentic Achievements on our network, which is really cool. And I think to myself, I don't have any children. I have had very little experience with children in most of my life. And I decided to write my first children's book, which now I think there are 12. And now I am surrounded by young children all the time, in just the daily course of what it is I'm doing, not in my home. I'm here without any children. And I've learned so much. And when I think of authentic achievements, one of the things I really think about is getting back to being a child, having that curiosity and that wonder. And for anyone who has ever practiced yoga or is aware of child's pose, it's sort of like getting grounded, getting back to earth and getting centered and really thinking that my breath can help take me anywhere I want to go. And so you have your own children's book, and you have your beautiful daughter. I got to meet both of you in person, which was amazing. And so you're around inspiration. And it might not feel like that all the time, right? Sometimes it might feel like, just want to go outside and scream. But what would you share with people who don't have children or who have lost that curiosity, and maybe they're sitting in a place filled with fear? Maybe they are obsessed with what's on network news or what's on social media where it's negativity. What would you say to someone who is going through something like that?
First, I'd say be kind to yourself, because it's hard. You know, the world is keen to tell us all the things that could go wrong, much keener to tell us what could go wrong than what could go right. But I guess for me, one of the things, and I see it so much because I live with a child and therefore live with other children, actively part of our life, is my greatest reminder is that everything that exists in the world only exists if its equal opposite also exists. So for everything we're fearful of, the thing we're hopeful for has to also exist. There is no up without a down. There's no left without a right. So it's a universal truth. So in those moments where the fear starts to take over, I remind myself that it can only be real if its opposite is also true. So if the thing I'm fearful of can only exist if its opposite is true, it suddenly becomes less scary because it can be neutralized. We can find a way of reducing that, or we can even find a way of swinging it in its alternate. And it doesn't feel like that in the moment. And, I say that having had some pretty low moments, myself. I remember and I've shared this once before, in my most melodramatic moment, laying on the floor thinking I don't know how to breathe. And clearly I know how to breathe, and I'm still here and I'm still breathing. But in that moment, the overwhelm, the fear, the loss at the time was greater than anything I could control my mind over. It seemed all consuming, and there would be no way out. And yet that was years ago, and there was a way out. And the next minute, the next hour, the next day, you suddenly start to put distance between yourself and the thing that you are catastrophizing. I definitely had catastrophized it. It was everything, and actually it wasn't. It was a part, and now actually such a small part that you kind of look back and go, wow, you're so dramatic. But in the moment, it doesn't feel melodramatic. In the moment, it's so real and it's so overwhelming. So I think first we have to treat ourselves with kindness and go, it's okay to be overwhelmed. It's okay for this to be too much. But is there anything that you can see that you can do? And so I have a friend who once said to me, I can't decide, Kim, if you're incredibly stupid or incredibly strong. And I was like, well, maybe both in equal measures. I said, because when things get overwhelming, when things feel out of my control, I look for something I can control and I cling on to it like the life raft in the messy seas of my mind until whatever it is that's overwhelming me becomes something I can start to deal with.
Excellent. Thank you so much for those words. And I agree with you. Something I want to bring up and see what your thoughts are. I have shared before that I don't watch network television, but I love streaming shows. And I've been watching something on Netflix called Celebrity Bear Hunt. You may
Okay.
have heard of it.
Yeah.
And one of the contestants, Lawrence, along with some others, had to go into the ocean and do this task. And while he was doing it, he started hyperventilating and he thought he couldn't breathe. And they had to come in and they had to rescue him and give him oxygen and some fluids. And so after the fact, when he had calmed himself down and he kind of looked at it, he realized, and this is my interpretation of it, that he had so much anxiety because it was something new and being put in a new environment and not having been exposed to being in the ocean and trying to do these things, that he mentally sort of just had a breakdown, is what I took away from it. So my question to you is, while we are all about embracing new opportunities, sometimes, like what happened with Lawrence, we're in that lion's den, we're in the ocean, wherever it is, maybe it's in our own mind, it's in our own home, and we become so overwhelmed. So someone might say, well, you know what, I'd like to see someone else do it before I do it. So what are your thoughts about the fact that we can talk ourselves off a ledge? We can talk ourselves into thinking we're having a heart attack when it's an anxiety attack that maybe we've never even had before, but we got ourselves so worked up.
Oh, it's so true. And yeah, I've seen it happen. And as I say in my, what I now describe my melodramatic moment of laying on the floor, I talked myself into, I didn't know how to breathe. I did know how to breathe. I do know how to breathe. But in that moment, I was so overwhelmed. I was so bereft that I couldn't, I was grasping at everything. And it's a horrible place to be. And unfortunately, you know, I've seen people really close to me that have panic attacks. And in that moment, it takes over. And it's about how do we find those moments to feel safe when it feels unsafe. Because that's what's happening in our mind. We've been put somewhere that feels unsafe and we don't know how to get back to safety. And if we can't get back to mental safety, we can't get back to physical safety, because we need our mind to be able to help us understand what the steps are to get to physical safety. And so it's so much bigger than we think it is. And we have to build our psychological safety when we're safe, which sounds really weird. So you've kind of got to build that muscle before you need to use the muscle. And I see this with my little girl and her friends all of the time. And I've just written a whole host of affirmation cards for them, which are, I am safe even when the world feels scary. Because if we can start with I'm safe, this is scary, but I'm safe, then we give our brain the opportunity to go and find the ways to get our body to safety, because our mind is already there.
Absolutely brilliant. And you also talk many times about the word yet. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So for me personally, as you know, Dr. Jacqueline, because I've told you this a billion times, I believe one of the most powerful words in the English dictionary is the word yet. So we will come back and we'll go, I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't, whatever it is. And I'll use my little girl as an example. She came home and she was like, I can't do colouring. And I was like, okay, it's interesting. So I just can't do it, Mummy. I just can't do it. And I was like, okay. Well, let's have a look at your colouring today versus yesterday. And she went, well, it's a bit better, Mummy. And I was like, okay, it is. How about yesterday versus last week? Well, it's quite a lot better. Last year? Well, now it's much better. Okay. So is it that you can't do colouring, or is it that you can't do colouring yet because you're getting better? Because when we put the word yet at the end of whatever it is we've told ourselves we can't do, we tell our subconscious brain it's important to us. So I can't fly a plane yet. It tells my subconscious brain I'd like to fly a plane. So it will now start to look for opportunities for me to be able to move from not yet to I can. Whereas when we just make it a finite, we tell our subconscious brain it's not important to us. And the problem is our subconscious brain filters out so much of the world. It filters in so much, but it filters out so much that if it thinks things aren't important, it filters them out of our view for us to see opportunities in the future. And so for me, one of the most powerful things, when you catch yourself saying, I can't do something, add in the word yet. And then ask yourself, what's one thing I could do today that moves me closer to doing it? Now, that could be I watch a video of how somebody flies a plane, or I read a manual, or it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter whether it takes you a baby step or a whopping great leap towards where it is you're going, but it moves you forward. It creates momentum. And when we take action, actions come into view for us to take more of them.
And I would really like to have our audience reach out to you, by the way. We do have your contact details that are in the notes, because you have so much wisdom and so much knowledge. And at the same time, you're so patient. I love that about you. You're so patient and you're so understanding. And I think that really helps when people are looking to make a change or to go down a path that they're not familiar with. And I'll just share a quick personal story. So as you know, I'm sure you're tired of hearing it. I decided, I think today was 96 days ago, I'm not sure, it's 95 or 96, to give up alcohol and give up sugar. And my life is pretty healthy as it is. And I work out at least 2 hours every day. And I have a very healthy diet, but I liked my Chardonnay and I liked my chocolate. And so I gave them up. And every day I think to myself, well, I don't really see that much of a difference. I don't really see that much of a difference. And then I look at a picture of myself from January, which is when I started. I'm like, oh, I do see a difference. And then I look at my blood pressure, which was 171 over 110, and it's now about 99 over 60. Like, oh, I see a difference. I went for my colonoscopy, which was horrible a year ago, and now this year it was really good. I'm like, well, there's a difference. But in my mind, I want to see a 40-year-old woman instead of a 63-year-old woman. So what I say to myself is there actually are changes. There is progression in moving forward. But I also have to remember my why. And my why is longevity. My why is not being in diapers and people having to take care of me. That's my why. So I think when we undertake a new opportunity, we have to look at, well, all the possible things that we think could happen. So let's go back to the guy who was in the ocean, okay? He could have said to himself before he went out on this mission, I might have a heart attack. And if I have a heart attack, okay, what's that going to look like? Meanwhile, you could have a heart attack doing anything, right? It doesn't matter. But you have to have a why. And when the why is strong enough, as you would say, then everything else starts to fall in place, because then you mentally, you revisit the why and you see yourself on the other side of it. So for me, I don't think I'm ever going to look like a 40-year-old woman. I don't know that it's possible without plastic surgery, a team of people, a chef, all these things that I don't have access to. But I can be living my life one healthier day at a time so that I'll live longer and have less opportunity potentially for disease, et cetera. So that's the why. And I think that when we get out of our comfort zone and we look at the why, that can propel us to move forward. And we can say, you know what, I'm not there yet, but I'm on the path. I'm on the journey.
I love that. And it's so true. Like when we find our why, we look at it and we go, okay, because one of the things that I learned many years ago, somebody said to me, when you say I can't, try saying the same thing with it's not important to me and see how it feels. So when I say, oh, I can't run up that hill, even though my little girl's at the top of it and she needs me to get to her, try saying it's not important to me to run up that hill to get to my little girl. That does not sit well. It's not sit well at all. But it works on so many levels. When we say, I can't do this, and then we say it's not important to me, it sits differently, it hits differently. And if you do that looking in a mirror, it does. It kind of changes your perspective. It changes how it feels. It changes how it shows up. And I think sometimes we look at these things and you shared it doesn't look like you've made any progress, but against what? And as you've shared, your why is to feel healthier, to be healthier, to have more longevity. And I think sometimes we get ourselves hung up around a goal. So our goal could be, I'd like you, I'd love to look like a 40-year-old woman, but I'm not. I've been there. I'm probably not getting back there. So I'm in my 50s now. But I could, even in my 40s, have gone and found a 40-year-old woman who looked older than I look today. So I could meet that goal. I just have to change how I defined it.
That's so true and on point. And I also think to myself, there are 40-year-old women who want to look 20. And then, I mean, where does it stop, right? Where does it actually stop? And instead, you say to yourself, you know what? I'm grateful that I'm still here. I'm grateful that I'm here and I get opportunities to embrace. So I'd like our audience to think about that as well. We all know people who aren't here anymore. And maybe they died prematurely early. Maybe they had a horrible death. Maybe they struggled through a lot of their life. And they would say, you know what? I wish I had the opportunities that you have. So why not take them? Why not say to yourself, you know what? The worst thing that can happen is I'll never know because I didn't try it. And along the journey, you and I know in the television, in the media industry, this is not an easy industry to be in. I mean, I can't tell you how many shows I've done where people from the audience, they just put horrible negative comments about the way I look or the way I sound. And you can't have thin skin. You have to say, you know what, my why is greater than the people who have nothing better to do, apparently, than put negative comments. But that doesn't just mean it's in the media industry. It's all over in life, in the world, is that there will always be someone judging. There will be someone who is not happy for you, who wishes you ill will because they're not happy with themselves. So why let that define who you are?
Oh, that's so true. And so often those negative comments are a projection of what's going on inside for that person. And actually, you know, that's about them. I can look at it and go, well, you can tell me I don't look good for my age. That's fine. That's your opinion. Did I come on and say I did look good for my age? So before you tell me what I don't do, you might want to check out first what I said I did. Because actually all I've ever said is this is my age and this is what I do. What I look like is like that's down to nature and genetics. There's not a lot I can do to control that. And it's not a valid part of what I personally am trying to do, which is be a better version of myself, as in mentally, morally, in what I deliver to the world. And I could do that with a bag on my head. It wouldn't make any real difference. Might improve the world's view of me, but it won't really change what's going on. And I think sometimes they're the things we can, and I see it from children to adults. So people they're so busy worried about what people external to them are going to say, that actually it's pulling yourself back to the one person that is guaranteed, and the only person in the world guaranteed to be with you on the day you were born and the day you die is you. So you need to start valuing that opinion as much as you value the opinion of somebody you've never met.
They are words to live by. Absolutely. And I want to share a story that you just to your point of what you said. I remember I was in corporate and there was an executive. I had a lot of respect for this person. And the person called me into the office and said, you know, I'm really concerned about the way you dress and that you are intimidating your clients. And I always dressed pretty much the same with the suit and the pearls, but I had the red lipstick and my nails were even longer than they are today. And they had, you know, airbrushing and art. Like I always had something like that. And I said, well, have the clients expressed that I am intimidating them? Do they feel intimidated? She said, no, but it could happen. And I said, listen, I could put on a hay bag and go and meet with the clients. I said, the difference is it's still me. I'm still me. I am who I am. So if the clients don't like the way that I'm dressed and I'm dressed in a professional manner, that probably says something about them. And she said, well, we don't want to alienate clients. And I said, well, we can't just decide who we're going to alienate or who we're not. It's basically, are you delivering what you promised to deliver? Because the way that we look, and believe me, I've seen people who are very creative. They might have full body tattoos. Maybe their face is tattooed. Maybe their hair is colored. I think that is so cool. Like it's an expression of who you are, but someone else might be intimidated. So there's really no beginning and end to it. And we have to decide ourselves. Am I comfortable in my own skin? And if I am, whatever people outside are saying about me, that's on them. If I choose to receive it and I choose to bring that information in, am I bringing it in as just data points? data points that I can then think about? Or am I taking this as this is the consummate information and I have to change everything I'm doing? Because when we change, they could be unhappy too. So who is it we're serving?
That's such a great point, Dr. Jacqueline. I think, yeah, I've had it leveled at me a few times. Well, the thing is, Kim, you're really intimidating. I'm like, really? I mean, you've met me. I don't think I can intimidate anybody if I tried. I don't,
Very down to earth.
Really hard at it. I don't think I could intimidate anybody. I'm the kind of person that people chat to on the tube in London, which never happens. But I have had people say, when I first saw you, I thought you were intimidating. And I was like, okay, that's really interesting. I don't know how that I managed that. I've realized over the years, it's because I'm comfortable in my skin. And that's uncomfortable for people when they see that actually, you're not trying to be anything you're not. You're not saying that you're better or different. You're just you. And I can't change that. So this is me. Take me as you find me. But that in of itself can be intimidating. So it doesn't matter how hard we try. The likelihood is we could still intimidate somebody.
Yeah, very true. And I want to ask you a question in the few minutes that we have left, because I think this is also really important. I've seen a number of things on Instagram. And of course, I know the more you look at something, the more you start seeing similar things. But the most recent deluge of information are these videos about a woman specifically who has a very small circle of friends, and about how the fact that the person's not looking for external validation and they're actually looking for peace. And of course, that is my scenario, and I am a peace ambassador. So can you share your perspective, because you live in another country, you're a mother, you're a mom, you have a different set of eyes. What are your thoughts and feelings about searching and embracing peace as opposed to the alternative?
Oh, it's such a great question. And I've seen the same deluge. So clearly we look at the same things, Dr. Jacqueline, because my Instagram is telling me lots of the same things. But I look at it and go, actually, I have got quite a small group of really close friends. And then I've got other people that, I'm friendly. I interact with lots more people. But the people that I would say are my genuine friends is quite a small group. It didn't used to be. It's become that way. And I think that's because they're a group that we're at peace with each other. We know we've got each other's back. We know we're always going to be there to support, but we don't have to ring up every day. We just know that they're going to be there if you need them, or that they know that you're going to be there if you need them. And that in of itself brings comfort. And I think very often people really think that maybe I'm a bit miserable. I like my own company. I spend a lot of time when my little girl's in bed, actually happily in my own company, writing or colouring or just being. And I never used to. I used to have to chase an external view of whether or not I was good enough, an external view of whether or not I was doing what was expected. Was I going out enough? Was I being seen socially enough to show that I was being a success at life? And maybe it's because I've hit my 50s. I don't know. But now I'm like, being a success at life for me, not for anybody else, because that's their choice of their success at life, is that I'm happy, that I'm healthy, that I get to spend time with people that I love, and that I'm equally happy getting to spend time just with me, because I took a hell of a long time to become who I am, that now I get to enjoy being at peace with it.
Bravo. I love this, because guess what? Many times people never actually find out who they are. They're still searching. They're kind of looking for anything to give them direction. And you found what it is that you need to embrace yourself. And I have too. I'm older. I'm a decade plus older than you, but it's a great place to be. I think the 50s and 60s are great places to be, because you start to cancel out a lot of the noise and a lot of the negativity, and you realize you cannot control other people, and people are going to think whatever it is they want to think, especially in the media industry. And my dear friend, I'm so grateful we had this opportunity. We have run out of time, but how can people reach you, and tell us about any new projects you have going on?
Yeah, of course. So you can reach me, you can find out what I'm doing at www.authenticachievements.com, or you can get in touch either on social media at Kim-Adele 10, or email me directly. It's Kim-Adele at authenticachievements.com. And I love being able to help and hear people's stories. Obviously, I do quite a lot in the kind of like leadership and board stuff, but I've got a bit of a passion project at the moment, which is about children and how we help children build that positivity. How do we make them feel emotionally and psychologically safe first, so that they are free to step into the world and be who they're supposed to be? And so that kind of came from my book, Always With You. So if that's something that's of interest, then please do get in touch, or check out our latest Substack, which is a free resource for parents and children that just want a nice, easy way to be able to interact and learn some of these ways of how they can share positivity with their own families and with themselves.
All right. Thank you very much, Kim-Adele. We have all of your contact details there, and I wish you a beautiful rest of your day there in London. I look forward to seeing you this summer.
I look forward to it. You take care. And to everyone listening and watching, thank you so much, and take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. This has been another fabulous episode of Authentic Achievements. And I'd like to just share, if you haven't done so yet, please go over and subscribe to our YouTube channels, USA Global TV and Radio, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. I know you may be watching from somewhere else, and that's okay, but YouTube gives us real information, and they keep our videos up. Facebook takes them down, Instagram takes them down, not because of us, because they have a certain time limit that they leave things up. Okay, the last thing I want to talk to you about is, are you someone who is always saying yes, and you're giving away your value? And when you actually decide as a business person that you're going to charge for something, your clients, your constituents come back to you and say, well, what do you mean? I didn't have to pay for this and I didn't have to pay for that. And it's very hard to establish your value. So what I want to share with you is, stop giving away your value. Stop it. Just say, you know what? I have value. I have worth. I'm not going to be intimidated, and I'm not giving everything away for free. Is it okay to give something away for free? Of course. Let people get to know who you are and see what it's like to work with you. But you have to know when to draw the line. So I really feel passionate about this. I've been hired as a keynote speaker to talk about it. I've written a book, and now we have a movie trailer. Take a look at the trailer. Stop giving it away. You can purchase this book over on Amazon or anywhere where fine books are sold. Thank you, and stay tuned for our next show.
How much of your value have you been giving away? Saying yes when the answer should have been no? Lowering your price to secure the opportunity? Giving more while receiving less? Over time, it adds up. Until one moment brings clarity, you've been giving away your value. This is not about working harder. This is not about doing more. It's about boundaries. It's about pricing. It's about respect. From Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck comes a direct and necessary message. Stop over-delivering. Stop underpricing your expertise. Stop negotiating against yourself. Because when you recognize your value, everything changes. Stop giving away your value. Boundaries, pricing, and the business of respect. Available now wherever fine books are sold and on Amazon. A film by USA Global TV and Radio. Executive producer Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Videographer and cinematic production Paul Garcia. Voiceover by Ed Vargas. Stop giving it away. Start owning it.
My Tummy Hurts by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Meet Jackie. She loves recess, running with friends and laughing on the playground. At school, Jackie tries to play like she always does, but suddenly the pain comes back. Lately, something feels different and her tummy hurts, sometimes a little and sometimes a lot. With the help of a caring teacher, a nurse, her mom, and a kind doctor, Jackie begins to understand what her body is trying to tell her. Sometimes tummy pain is more than a simple bellyache. Some children live with conditions like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. Jackie listens to her body. She asks for help. She knows she's not alone. and Jackie finds her way back to running, laughing, and being herself. My Tummy Hurts, A Kid's Guide to Bellyaches and Bathroom Troubles by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, available on Amazon and in fine bookstores around the world.
In a quiet seaside town in Greece, where sunlight warms the stone paths and the sea whispers nearby, a new adventure begins. Lady Ella and her brother Lord Jack have arrived with an important mission: to teach kindness, patience, and the power of listening. In a hidden alley, a group of forgotten cats feel unseen and unheard, lost in silence and growing misunderstandings, until someone finally takes the time to truly listen. Because when we listen from the heart, loneliness softens, kindness grows, and new friendships begin. This is Book 10 of The Amazing Adventures of Lady Ella, the Listening Mentor book series. Find all Dr. Kerbeck's books on Amazon and in fine bookstores worldwide.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.